to Youth Group Live. Well, Brandon and I had some great ideas on this last Sunday. Actually, I'm going to give Brandon majority of the credit because he's the one who came up with the idea and showed me the idea that we could do on a Wednesday night versus, coming to RiverTown Church and social gathering, 50 plus people and all that good stuff. So we're going to do things a little bit different over the next few weeks, or as long as all of this stuff takes place. Behind me, you're going to see some of the examples of different. This is a very large floaty emoji. Easton loves this thing. We play school bus with it. Basically, we put it on one end of the pool. We run like crazy, jump on it, and from the side of the pool deck, can you jump on it by the time it gets to the other end? If not, well, you become the roadkill, if you will, because the tube goes right over you. Stuff like this is a good way that we can kind of cope with all the stuff that we are currently going through. Question for you guys, and this is the opening monologue, of course. How are you coping with this social distancing idea? Or better yet, how are you using the things that God has given you for something greater than what it was intended for? Once again, only God can do stuff like that. So, for me, how am I coping? Well, first and foremost, we are playing games repeatedly. Here's some examples. Legos. I can't tell you how many Legos that I have stepped on that's been brutal on my feet. However, Legos are an option. Keegan, he loves this thing. All he does is grab 8 of these little sticky balls thingies and throws it up in the air, and I have to catch it. No, he doesn't do it. I have to catch it. He just throws them up and thinks it's hilarious that I can't get to one of them. That's his game. Easton will play basketball upon basketball upon basketball. Doesn't even like baseball right now, but he's going to. But basketball, he loves this stuff. Now, after all of this, social distancing is done, the question is, what is really going to come back almost immediately? Here's what I can guarantee you. Vacationing and getting away from family will be paramount in some people's life. If you're a babysitter and you want to be a babysitter, there's going to be a tremendous opportunity for you coming up the next couple of weeks. We love our family. We want to spend time with our family. But after all this is done, guess what? Babysitting. It's going to be high priority. Vacationing, high priority. If you have a cruise, if you have a social vacation somewhere else, I promise you it's going to be insane. If you have any stock in airline right now, it's going to be fantastic in a few couple of weeks. Maybe a few couple of months, but a few couple of weeks. It's going to be good. Also, people like to reminisce during all of this time and coping. Me, well, this is my high school letterman, Northwood High School. This is my Louisiana little symbol over here, my number in baseball. My football number actually fell off. It was number 42 or 62, depending on what position I played and what beginning of the year. Also, some people are coping by giving a little joy to the community. Well, I'm wearing my candy cane tie here, and that really is going to represent Christmas. I normally don't put up a lot of Christmas lights, but during this time, I decided to do something a little different. You guys know that I had to take down the wiffle ball field, and for several reasons why we had to do so. But we have several things such as PVC pipe, attachments, glue, and all that good stuff that we have available for, different kinds of adventures and all that good stuff. So what I decided to do was grab the PVC pipe, the attachments, the glue, the rebar, and all that good stuff, and I decided to make the symbol for this virus, which happens to be like a home and a ribbon and something and all that good stuff. I don't know if you guys can see this appropriately, but right behind me, you're going to see a small little decor option that I put up. It has Christmas lights on it. It has PVC pipe, and it's like a little walkway over the sidewalk. Kids love it. Adults love it, and it brings a little joy. Every now and then, you gotta use the lemons that God has given you and make some lemonade out of it. That is an encouragement to you guys. And as we go throughout this Youth Group Live, one of the callings I believe that we have as Christians in our life is, number one, every now and then you're going to be given lemons. Do something with them. Second thing is bringing joy to people's lives when they don't think that joy exists. That shows you exactly what Christianity is for. And as I give you a small little tour of my backyard, my goal in all of this is very simple. Can we make this into something greater than what it was intended? Because I guarantee you God has something greater in mind than we could possibly think about.
Thank you, Rusty, for that opening monologue. Now let's see what everyone's been up to in quarantine.
Number 10.
All right. Weirdest thing I've done while in quarantine is make like full course meals past midnight. Like I made a cheeseburger, I made bacon and eggs.
Number 9.
Once baseball's over, I've started gardening. Here's a cactus I planted today in this little box. Put some sand, got some rocks, got some succulent.
Number 8.
You can watch your crazy neighbor's dog attack your other neighbor's dog.
Number 7.
Playing some Fort.
Number 6.
Hi. So my weirdest quarantine entertainment is probably playing the Wii. I mean, just Guitar Hero, Wii Sports.
Number 5.
You won't believe the crazy thing I just discovered. It's called a book. It's crazy. It's like paper.
Number 4.
During quarantine, I do face masks and I dye my hair.
Number 3.
I've been making some more milkshakes, zebra cake, milkshake.
Number 2.
During my time at home, I've been playing cornhole with my family.
Prize winner.
Over this break, I've been eating way too much food for my body to handle, but I eat it in a specific order, so it's super cool. So I go animal crackers, then goldfish, and then Cheez-Its, and repeat.
Greetings, guys. I hope you enjoyed the top 10 list. We're in week number 10 of our series called Homeward, and we're going to be covering chapters 8 in review and 9 in review. And then today we're going to go into chapters 10 and 11 of the book of Nehemiah. And just to do a brief review on 8 and 9, the city of Jerusalem is being rebuilt, obviously. The walls around it have been completed. The gates have been completed. There are still certain things, though, that the people that are now living inside and building their homes now inside of the walls are fearful of. And then Nehemiah really wants to re-emphasize certain things that Moses, Joshua, and the covenant needed the people to do in order to re-emphasize that, you know what, God is going to be first. Yes, we've been punished. Yes, we've been given back our city. But for us to keep it as God intended us for us to keep all the gifts, all the talents, all the things that God really wants in us, there are certain things that we have to be able to complete. And I know it's frustrating for me sometimes when I start something and I can't complete it. And Nehemiah wants to make sure, okay, now that we've started at the top, we're going to do this through and through all the way to the end.
I'll meet you at the bottom. There's still one more thing I must do before I go. It's incredible! It's gonna be some kind of a record! Everyone loves a slinky. You gotta get a slinky, slinky, slinky. Go, slinky, go!
It's frustrating sometimes when you start something that you really can't finish. And Nehemiah wanted to make sure that his people, and given this opportunity again, is going to do it right. The problem with all of this is, and when you have a common enemy, it really helps to rally the troops together. In the midst of what we're going through currently, it's easy to help support each other. That being said, now that the wall has been complete, and now they're starting to be a little bit more individualized in trying to build their own houses. Yes, maybe helping their neighbors, but trying to build their own thing. Nehemiah wants to make sure all the focus is centered around what God really wants them to do. Every morning, 3-4 times in the week, he's getting everyone together and reading the laws of Moses again. He wants to emphasize that everything that you grow here on the 7th year you got to make sure that the ground has to rest. So we have to be prepared for that. That being said, whenever you're starting to build something new like this, and they grew up in Babylon. I want you to understand this. They didn't grow up in an area in which they had to necessarily provide for themselves. This is all new to these people who are going back to Jerusalem and recovering what God has already promised them. So, in rebuilding all of this, I want you to understand that God is going to allow us to go through ups and downs, but he wants to re-emphasize the point that if you're going to build, this is an example, a skyscraper, you cannot start with the foundation of a 3 or 4 story building. You can't do it. You have to tear it all down. You have to go beneath the surface. You have to grab the roots of whatever is there that's causing the problems and then the issues. And you have to rebuild this thing that God has asked us to rebuild. They have to reconstruct how they think. If you're going to go through a problem the exact same way over and over and over again and expect a different result, understand Nehemiah is going to say it like this. You need to change the way you think. I know what you did in Babylon, and I know what you think is successful, but God wants more from you. In order for you to get what God wants more from you, you have to reconstruct on how you do things and what your foundation is built on. Yes, really. Well, there are some do's and don'ts when you talk about certain things that God wants you to do. Nehemiah is going to emphasize, don't marry off your daughters to foreign land people. Don't take something that is not yours and bring it into our camp. I want things that are only godly, only purposeful. The things that are in my life that need to be in there, I want to be instructed by him. Nehemiah is going to give all these guidelines, but you have to be able to listen to these guidelines. We've seen the president, we've seen the governor, we've seen the mayor all come up with guidelines of how to stop the flow of this virus that is going around. It does no good whatsoever if we don't adhere to some of these things. Now, we can disagree with it because Lord knows that I disagree with some of it. But I want to understand that I need to understand that there's going to be a need for a common good for all people. What is the best possible outcome? For me, people don't get sick. My youth group don't get sick. The elderly population in our church don't get sick. That is an ultimate goal. Can I help with that? Yes. Can we do this? Yes. The second point that I want to kind of go over here is the do's and the don'ts of a relationship with Christ. But I'm going to do it from an application standpoint. And let me read this to you real fast. And this is just an example of what this particular book talked about in Nehemiah about the do's and don'ts. Number 1, don't marry outside of the Jewish faith. There's going to be people that you are around. Girl, guy, friend, foe, doesn't matter. Yes, you can talk to them, but to allow your heart to be a part of their heart, to allow your mission and your covenant and your promises and your gifts to be a part of their gifts, there has to be a line drawn on what a faith believer believes in. And then, of course, what a non-believer believes in, bring them with us, yes, but don't be a part of what they're doing. Do business on the Sabbath day itself. In other words, listen, church is important. Wednesday night is important, not just for social gathering as far as in the faith wise, but to be encouraged in who God has called us to be. Nehemiah did it 3 or 4 times a week. We're asking sometimes for once a week or something of that sort. But even so, what are you reading? What is your devotional? In the Bible that you're reading, once again, James is always a book that I would say a new believer needs to go to. But there's certain things that God asks us to make sure that we know each and every day. Do's and don'ts. Neglect caring for the temple itself. Temple, yes, you can talk about this. Yes, you can talk about the physical temple. But what God has put in your life to cultivate growth, take care of that. And also there's a process of, yes, you should do these things. You should allow the land to rest. Yes, you need to have rest. Yes, you need to make sure that God himself is being put on the pedestal, putting yourself to the side, rest, if you will. But this moment in which we're in, you will never see this again. I told it to you last week. You will never see something like this happen again in this world. That being said, allow it to manifest good things in your life. The last thing it talked about is this, is the paying the temple taxes. And I want to put this in context for us as a youth. Um, God is going to provide for you each and every way, whether through your parents, through your grandparents, through your friends, through your job. He is going to provide for you. God is going to ask in return for those provisions, to allow those provisions to promote godly things. Pulling someone to the side. Do you need something? Do you need my time? We don't have money, but do you need my money? Do you need the things that, God every now and then will put something in front of you and say, you know what? Are you allowing yourself to be a part of this? I had a conversation with an adult a couple of days ago, and during all this guy owns a business, and a $3, $4, $5 million business, and he had a choice to lay off his workers, furlough his workers, allow his workers to be paid, which would cost him somewhere around 15 grand a week. And if you're a $3, $4, $5 million business, you have that much money in the bank, you would think $15,000 wouldn't be, a lot of money per week. However, he was really fighting the decision because, once again, the world says success looks like this, but God says, I have given you provisions so that you can bless someone else. Are you going to allow these provisions to come about? Are you going to allow these provisions that I've given you to promote me like I've asked you to? Yes, your bottom line may go down, but you know what? Promotion of Christ is vastly more important than your bottom line.
Mary, just least you can do is level with me. What are my chances?
Not good.
You mean not good like 1 out of 100?
I'd say more like 1 out of 1 million.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Point number 3 is leaders need to be on the rise. In chapter number 11 of Nehemiah, it's really boiling down to, are you really given a chance to be a leader, to stand out? And Nehemiah is going to tell the people quite often, listen, this city is in the midst of a pagan territory. There's going to be ventures, there's going to be robberies, there's going to be different voyages that you take in your life that you're going to be challenged on the spiritual level, physical level, all of the above, and what your background is in, who you trust to be around. I have a leadership team in my youth group. I have a leadership team around me in our church. I have different people in my life who I listen to. And the reason why I listen to them is not only do they have godly advice, they're usually common sense oriented. And by the way, it's not like these people are perfect by any stretch of imagination, but I trust and I value their opinion. Leaders have a habit of not waiting for things to come to them, but they see opportunities for they can go forward. I just finished up reading the small little section on Lazarus. Lazarus passed away. Jesus came back from where he was preaching and then raised Lazarus from the dead. But one of the emphasized points that the Bible makes is Martha and Mary. We've heard about them before, but in this particular portion of the Bible, it talks about Martha and Mary as Mary is the person who, sits at the feet of Jesus. Jesus, everything's good. Now I can praise you and I can love on you. And by the way, Jesus sets up a point to tell Mary, this is what you should do. But on this other story of Martha and Mary, I want you to understand that Mary did not go to see Jesus this time. Martha did. It said before that Martha and Mary would invite Jesus into the house to eat dinner with them. On this particular occasion, Martha and Mary's brother Lazarus has passed away. And so as Jesus came back, by the way, it said that he intentionally waited to make sure that Lazarus has passed this 4-day time period. It said when Jesus came to the city gates of Bethany, that Martha left her house and went to go meet Jesus at that location. Did not even invite him in, but she went to go get him and say, hey, I love you. I know you. I know you can fix this, but I am not happy with what just happened. You, Jesus, are the Son of God, and I believe it. But then Jesus asked this faithful question. You ready? Do you believe me that I can raise him from the dead? Martha said, yes, I will see Lazarus again. Jesus said, no, right now. That's what leaders do. Nehemiah made sure that his people knew that leadership 101, whenever God calls you to do something, whether it's the tough one or the easy one, being at the feet of Jesus is where it's all at. That's where you go. In the tough times, you don't wait on him to come to the house. You go meet him at the gate. In the times which everything's good, listen, rest in his presence, just like Mary taught us. But in the tough times, this could be one of them. This can be easy for a lot of you, the stuff that we're going through currently. That's good. That being said, when the tough times come, don't wait on Jesus to come to the house. Go get him. Go meet him. Tell him what you think and allow God to give you comfort in who he is.
You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Still want to go to Aspen?
Oh, yeah! Okay, let's go, buddy!
Hey guys, as we transition to our worship artist, Josh Prather, my question is this, and I know you're not given the choice a lot of times because your parents and your coaches and your teachers kind of tell you what you can and cannot do, usually in this phase in your life. What are you going to allow to be the focal point and your center point of worship? And my goal today is this, and sometimes, once again, you're not given this opportunity, but in 3 to 4 short years, some of you next year are going to be given the opportunity more and more to make those choices of what the first step of every decision you're going to make is going to look like. And my prayer is this, that your heart allow God to be the focal point of what you're going to do. In the next few moments, as we worship to a song that's really ministered to me over the last few months, to allow God to be the centerpiece. I've talked to several college students over the last couple of weeks, Trey Sears being one of them. And the question always comes up, inevitably, how you doing? How you doing spiritually? And it really boils down to this. Can you allow God to be where God wants to be in your life?
Hey RiverTown youth, Josh here. Today I'm going to be doing a song. It's called Waymaker. I just want to thank Rusty for the opportunity of letting me be able to play for you guys, and hope you enjoy. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are way maker, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the darkness of my God. That is who you are. You are way maker, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the darkness of my God. That is who you are. You are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness of my God. That is who you are. You are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness of my God. That is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working.